Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You
Good
have
afternoon.
your committee on. Chloe's here in the building. Rachel's online. Then you have William and Carlton Dallas online.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and everyone else.
Good morning. Let me see, it's 12, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And the first business is approval of today's agenda. Can I get a motion?
Either Rachel or Chloe.
I move that we approve the agenda for today, October 5th, 2023.
Okay. There's a second?
I'll second, and then just making sure we don't skip over the pledge.
No, I won't.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye.
I.
Wisniewski, aye.
Okay. Okay, the next is a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
and
one nation,
listen, under God.
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Oh, thank you. Do we have any public comment?
No, sir.
Okay. Next, we need approval of the March 16th. And I think, Robin, you had a question?
Actually, I had put the wrong date. It should have been April 24th, and that's what you have in. I put March 16th on the agenda, but it should have been April 24th. So I need a motion to correct that.
Okay, so we need to approve of April 15th, a meeting agenda. Meetings minutes. Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve the April 24th, 2023 committee meeting minutes.
Okay, get a second?
Gordon second.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Gordon, I.
Wisniewski, aye.
Okay, thank you. Now, the next thing is the discussion of the board legislative proposals, the delegation assembly. I don't understand this. This is something that Dr. Waz received from them, right?
Yes, she got the email from McCormick. They did not get the information to the school board association by their deadline. So they're asking, they want it on the legislative agenda at the meeting in December, but they need a 2/3 majority vote.
Okay.
And I put in what they're asking, what they are asking for.
And they want us to support them?
They're
That's what they're
asking,
asking?
yes, they're asking for support if you want to support them. And to have this on the legislative agenda at the meeting in January. In December to go to on the floor.
Okay.
Ms. Cushenberry.
Go ahead, Mrs. Gordon.
Yes, before I vote on something or entertain it, and I can't get into my documents, that's no fault of Ms. Robbins.
It's in your folder.
And this
So,
is it?
yeah, so what it is that they're asking is this information here.
Okay.
Oh, estimated sale tax paid for, okay, I see.
So can you all see can you see what it is that they're asking for?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, committee members, do y'all support this?
I haven't read it yet, so.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead and finish reading it. Okay.
So I think based on my understanding of reading it, it's that currently all school districts in South Carolina are required to pay taxes on certain goods and services.
Right.
McCormick is asking to be exempt and
Mhm.
is encouraging other districts to ask for, so they want us to support them in becoming exempt. And then on secondary to that, they want us to advocate for the whole state to be, all school districts to be
Right.
exempt. But
Right.
so, from where I sit, certainly I think that, it makes sense to ask for
Yes, it
that
does.
statewide. I'm just not sure procedurally, like, if they get it, then does that help the advocacy for all school districts to get it? Or, are we doing it backwards? I just don't know the answer to that. I would maybe like to defer to our legal department as well as our lobbyists and ask them what their opinions are on whether or not it even would get passed statewide. So at this point, I'm just kind of on the fence. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that something, this email was sent to Lynn. Tina did send it out to Lynn at the time that she received it on September 19th. We can reach out to Ms. Stokes Murray and ask her for her recommendation immediately prior to the work session.
Right. Okay.
I agree with Dr. Vanessa.
Yes.
Information, legal team, especially with the tax and how this would affect all of the, all of the counties, not just us. And so I would prefer to get legal counsel.
Okay, well, you would make a motion that we get legal.
Do you want
advice?
legal or do you want you want the lobbyist?
Lobbyists.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I will follow whatever guidance you give, sir. When would you like non-members to pose their questions, at the end of the discussion, or?
You can do it now.
I read this as Dr. Wisniewski did.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like sequentially McCormick wants it first to position that as number one, and then the rest of the state. I would actually propose that our request of the legislative body would be that, from my, not that I'm a member of the committee, but my personal perspective would be I will support all 73 or 72 districts being similarly affected, but not just singularly affecting McCormick.
Right.
Okay.
I
Thank you,
agree
sir.
with you on that. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I would agree with Mr. Dallas. I think that, if there's one school district doing it, and they're going forward and it seems like they've got support of their board and perhaps their delegation as well. And I assume this letter also went out to other school districts.
Yeah.
I think it would behoove us to perhaps have conversations with other district leaders to see if we could instead, let's start the push now and see if all the school districts can get on board. I'm not sure where everybody sits on that, and that'll probably take some time. I'm not sure if there is a time crunch attached to this of when they need to have, our support and our delegation support. So I think there's some fact finding or some information finding that we need to kind of get on to figure out how can we support McCormick as well as our other district partners and ourselves, because they do make a very good and salient point for us in the letter in regard to capital improvements and the amount of tax that is attached to that. And certainly if we have a referendum coming up, that's very applicable to us.
Right. Okay, I agree with you on that. I would suggest that we talk to Lynn Stokes as soon as possible, and then go from there.
The time crunch is that at the December legislative meeting, they're asking the district is going to support them with the 2/3 vote to have it brought to the floor. So I think
Right.
that is the initial time crunch. So it can
Okay.
get with Lynn. So does our board want to support when you go to the meeting in December to say, yes, we want them to bring this to the floor to even discuss it? So that's the first time crunch.
Right. And not just for one county, for the whole, all the school district in the state.
Right, but they can't even, their first initial thing is to bring it to the South Carolina School Boards Association legislative meeting. It can't even be discussed unless they have a 2/3 vote. And they're
Okay.
asking the district, they're asking Beaufort County if you would support them bringing this to the floor.
Okay. Now, did Dr. Guards try to contact as many people as she can, or do we need to do?
We would need to do it, and Dr. Guas turned it over to this committee for
Okay.
your recommendation if you all want to support bringing, if this committee is saying, yes, we are supporting them taking it to the floor, we're recommending full board to do that. That's what she's looking for coming out of this committee.
Okay, I need a motion.
So do you all need more information prior to saying, yes, you would want this to go to the floor? Do you need more information from Lynn Stokes Murray before you're willing to support them taking this to the floor?
I read it a little bit different in the last, and maybe just because I read it quickly, the last paragraph from, I'm not sure if it's a Mr. or Mrs. Wilson, says because the House of Representatives and Senate typically meet in December to establish their calendars, they encourage us to send a similar message to legislators representing our own district.
Yes, that's part of it. But if you see the first, I'm showing up on the screen, the first part of the thing is they will need they need a 2/3 vote before this can even go to the legislature, or this can even get to the School Boards Association.
So,
Okay, who do they need a 2/3 majority vote from? The delegate assembly?
yes.
No, from the
No,
from we have the legislative the legislative meeting in December, and we have 6 board members, and you all have votes. So when you go to the meeting in December, Beaufort County has 7 votes. In order for them to put this on the South Carolina School Boards Association legislative submission, they had missed the deadline to get it into the legislative handbook. So they need to bring it up on the floor. But in order for them to bring it up on the floor, they need a 2/3 majority vote. So does Beaufort County, with your 7 votes, say, yes, you are going to be part of the 2/3 vote so that they can bring it to the floor, their proposal?
Yeah. Okay. So I support it. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering if there might be value to contacting McCormick directly and expressing our concern about the segmentation, because I've seen things that from first blush would appear to be just a given, and then they get to a larger body and they go totally sideways. And what causes me to be concerned about that is if that were to happen, McCormick is a very small district.
Yes, it is.
And they probably will get empathy for passing this. And then I think from what I've heard in my short period, there are people who view us as a rich district and say we don't need it.
Yeah.
And they may separate the two. So, and I'm just asking if it might be worthwhile seeing if McCormick would be willing to refashion this and say all districts. And then I defer to whatever this committee says.
Okay. We will get in touch with McCormick and then discuss what you just said.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Yes, sir. Ms. Gordon.
Very quickly here. So are we not going to utilize the Miss Lynn Stokes to get her opinion on this before we contact McCormick. Because I
Okay.
think then they may have 73 other districts trying to get in touch with them. But I think we need clarity for our county as to what they're saying from Ms. Lynn. And then we'll worry about, not worry, but take her recommendation about contacting the McCormick County School District, but we need to have some fair questions for them. Because right now I'm not sure if I support this because I need more information.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
And I defer to the standing committee, legislative committee. So whichever way you want to go.
Robin,
Mr. Chair.
yes, ma'am.
There's another point that I think, if we are going to ask for Beaufort County to be considered into something like this of a tax exempt status, I think we also need to have a conversation with our CFO because McCormick cites, their specific data in their supporting letter to the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the governor. And I think it would be very important for us to attach if they're such a small district and for them to be impacted like this, I can't imagine what our numbers are. So
Right.
I really like to have perhaps some type of analysis by our CFO. So there's a lot of different information, not only from Ms. Lynn Stokes Murray, but from Ms. Crosby and perhaps even our legal team, procurement department, because I don't know what kind of items this exactly attaches to per the procurement code. There's just a lot of other moving parts. So I would like us to perhaps schedule another meeting with some of those individuals and give them a heads up of kind of what we're looking for
Mm-hmm.
so that
Okay.
we can have a deeper conversation.
Okay. When will the committee be able to meet? It's up to y'all. I don't have a problem. Any day, say within the next 2 weeks.
What about on the 7th? There's nothing scheduled currently on the 17th of October.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Rachel?
Yes, ma'am, that works for me. It would need to be probably in the morning between 9 and 12. I have a 1 o'clock that day. And then I think we have a board meeting that evening too.
No, we don't have a board meeting on the 17th because we have the work session on the 27th.
Oh, that's right. Got moved. Okay.
So that's one of the reasons why I suggested the 17th.
Okay. I
So
can the evening then.
what time would you all, Ms. Gordon, does the 17th work for you?
It works for me too.
What time would you all want? At noon this time again, or
I would say because Rachel has an appointment at what, 1?
Yeah, I can either do between 9 and 12, or I could do, since we don't have a board meeting that evening, I could do that evening as well virtually.
Let's do that even at 3 o'clock.
that evening at 3? All right, and let me so I'm going to be contacting Lynn's
Right.
Stokes Murray, and the CFO, and you want legal as well as procurement, or if Tanya just says, gives all the information, we have Tanya and Lynn.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I think.
Okay. All right, so I will check with Tanya and Lynn, their availability, and we're saying legislative at 3 o'clock on the 17th.
Okay.
Ms. Cushenberry,
Yes, ma'am.
if you could provide Ms. Crosby with this letter and ask her to do just
Yes.
some very cursory number pulling for us on this, that would be great.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay. All right. Next discussion, I think this is Rachel.
Yeah.
Discussion of development agreement and intergovernmental relationship.
Yes, sir. I brought this forward. I think you all probably recall very recently that there was discussions in the Bluffton and Okeechobee area at the county council level in regard to the rezoning of some property where they were looking to provide some high density kind of home sites there that were going to significantly impact Okatee Elementary.
Okay.
So I wanted us to enter into the discussion and see kind of what was the temperature or how everybody felt about perhaps beginning conversations with county council or trying to begin conversations so that when future instances like that arise and as development agreements are made, that the school district has a seat at the table. I know that they do defer and ask questions sometimes of Mr. Otting, but I think if we were able to put on the table what it is that we need in the foreseeable, next 5-10 years in terms of, the district is gonna, if you do build something, we're gonna need 20 or 30 acres to build a new elementary or a middle school. And in that way, perhaps position ourselves to be a part of that agreement. So some historical information for those that might not know, the May River site where we have May River High School and the future PK through 5 facility, that land, some of it was donated is my understanding, and it was a part of the development agreement. So it has been done in the past. Now there was some red tape attached to it when it came through that route in regard to the routing of buses and how much land we were going to get and things like that. So it may or may not be ideal, but I just would like for us to enter into those conversations and see what can be done. I don't know if the actors who were here for that, besides Mr. Campbell himself, know how that all came about. But I think it's something that we need to maybe put eyeball on for the future.
Right. I think we need to talk to the planning department also and get the information from them.
Right.
Okay.
For county's planning department?
Yes.
And probably Robert Otting as well.
Yeah, right.
To see, I don't know. I know what I don't know. And I don't know development agreements, but I know it's been done in the past. So I want to make sure that if we can position ourselves and have a seat at the table, that'll be good for the students in the long run.
Okay. That'd be fine.
Mr. Chair. Oh, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sir. Yes, sir.
Following up on what Dr. Wisniewski is raising, I think that's a really critical important point.
Right.
As a private citizen, I was approached about some of the mechanisms of the existing development agreement. Evidently, the board or the school district had submitted an opinion that they were against that expansion years ago. And so some of the developers were trying to explore where the school district stood on that.
Right.
So I think that's sort of concerning. That if that was an opinion from some time ago, that it was still being used, as Dr. Wisniewski is saying, maybe our engagement should be more transparent and more recent. The second point is there's a lot brewing in the county about how to use some real precious assets. One of those that has come up in a discussion I've heard or participate in, I didn't trigger it, is the use of green space to develop a partnership with the schools to actually possibly reserve some of that space for school.
Okay.
Now, I'm not politically sensitive enough to all the things that have gone on or are even going on now, but at least that's just sort of throwing stuff against the wall to see what might have some value. Some people who are beginning to think about that, for whatever that's worth. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anything else?
Who would we contact for you all to meet with? I mean, you want a meeting with the planning department at Beaufort County?
Yes. And see if they can give us a date when we can meet them.
Okay.
And if Mr. Otting wants to be
Yeah.
there,
Ms.
meet
Martin.
with us
Yeah.
before, you might want to meet with us before we meet with the county
Okay.
planning. Then, I would defer to him because he's the one that's been,
Working
Right.
with them.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So on the 17th, we could have Mr. Harding at the meeting also, right? Would that be?
That would be great if he's available.
Yes.
All right, I'll check and see.
Okay. Anything else? Future topics.
Future topics, I think we may need to either on the 17th or at a future meeting. I know they're coming up with the legislative calendars in December. So in the past, we've been a little bit behind at the 8 ball when it comes to our legislative priorities.
Agenda.
Right.
So I think we need to probably put that on the 17th, put up our last year's or the most current one that we have. And, if we want to keep it, then we just go ahead and turn it back around to the full board. If not, then we can add things. But I think we need to start now, personally.
Okay. Yes. Ms. Gordon?
No, thank you, Dr. Winiski. Being new, I need to use Mr. Dows's words. There are things I don't know, so I'm glad to hear that that is a future topic. Thank you.
Okay.
So for the 17th, I'm going to contact Lynn. I'm going to contact Tanya and regarding the McCormick. I'll contact Robert regarding the planning, and then we'll go and then get a date for the after meeting with Robert. Then we'll get a date for the planning, Beaufort County planning, and then also for the 17th, we'll have the legislative agenda.
Right.
Is that it?
Mhm.
Yes.
Can I, whenever the
Yes.
appropriate time, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, so again, as I'm learning, is quite interesting and overwhelming in many cases. But there are a couple of things I'd like to just for the legislative committee to consider. One is, I think based on some information that Dr. Wisniewski shared with me, or I learned from sitting beside her in a board meeting, that the strategic review occurs every 5 years. And I think we're at the end of 2023. What I have seen work is a rigorous, broad-based strategic review occurs, and out of that comes a definition of resources of where the demand will be. That's the second thing. Where is this demand going to be, and what fashion will it appear in? Will it appear in more CTE? Will it appear in different types of courses or position of schools or what have you? And I would suggest that at some point, the legislative committee consider what strategic pieces of legislation should we be proactively pursuing. A lot of things come to us, but what, as a leading county, would we want to say, here's where we believe we have to go. So strategic review will be one. The second is, the more research I read, the more I'm learning that from birth to 5 is critically important. And when I looked at the scores for us, I didn't see state scores. And so the reason I was looking for that was to see how we compared versus the state. I also saw where Bluffton and Whale Branch had some really good math scores, and I've inquired about what that is. And it appears that it's due to scheduling. They add a couple of extra courses to prepare kids who might ordinarily not be ready for the first algebra class or what have you. And so just looking at, is there an opportunity for the school district to take the lead on having an early childhood center for every cluster, so that single parent families who are working would have a place that they could take their kid to be educated instead of just, care. I've also learned that a kid coming out of our ECCs, well, I've been told this, I haven't confirmed it, our ECCs, if they don't fit the demographic metrics to go into the K or whatever the next, there's a gap there. And they finished ECC, but they can't start primary school yet. I think that's the type of thing might be worthwhile for us to take a look at. And then the other thing, the third one is it came up in a meeting, a board meeting, I think, about equitable access for all kids in this district, regardless of where they are. And so I know we're building towards that, but maybe a legislative position with our elected officials on CTE, equitable access in every cluster. So a kid in St. Helena or Whale Branch has equal opportunity with kids on the 278 corridor and vice versa. So that's just 3 points, and I just wanted to share. Thank you, and I'm through.
And Ms. Gordon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Dallas, those are awesome items for us to look into. But I think those last 2, 3, and 4 should go to academics.
Yes.
And if you would contact me, we can have a conversation and we could put those items on our future topics. Okay.
Gladly, ma'am. Gladly. No problem. Thank you.
Things that we should target and put our teeth into.
Okay. Thank you.
I think there's specific, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I think there's also some specific legislation that we could look at that perhaps is still on the table and hasn't been formally voted on by the House or Senate. And that would probably require us to talk to Lynn Stokes Murray to gather those. But based on those different things, like pre-K for all and expansion of that, as well as programmatic choice in the district. I know we already have choice to an extent, but I know there's other legislation about that districts would be able to open up things so that their kids, even within the district, are not limited by where they live. I think Mr. Smith has his hand up.
Yes, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, yes, sir. How you doing? Can y'all hear me?
Well, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I've heard the conversation about the last couple of topics. One thing just concerns me as we move forward and talking about the early childhood education. I think that we have some avenues that are open, and I think that we also, at least there also are some other people who we need to bring to the table with us when we have these conversations, including the academic committee, in terms of in terms of what's out there already. Because one thing that I've been told by people in the community and in this county as well is that sometimes there are times when people feel that we're not being good neighbors, and we don't want to, I won't say encroach or frown upon, make no one feel that we're frowning upon them. So we might just want to have an open dialogue with other venues that are doing some of the things that we're talking about, because I think if we all pull together, we all pull our resources, that we can effectively touch more people. And also I think that we can all help each other get done what we want to get done in the manner that we want to get it done in. So I just think that there are some other people in this community who are offering some services, and we can see what's working for them, what's not working, how we all can do this together for the greater good of our kids. So I definitely just want to put that out there, that need to be done too. We know we're talking about doing things, but we also need to see what resources that are out there and what's working, and basically what we can do to pull our resources together. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir.
Do you have the name of these organizations?
Yes, sir. You have first. I think it's First Step. You have was not early childhood. Basically, Head Start. And I think there are one or two more organizations too out there that are doing some things as well.
Okay, all right,
I think those organizations should be put to the table as well, just to see, you know, what they're doing versus and what versus what can be done, and what also we might need to push the legislation to help everyone out.
okay, thank you. Anything else you don't discuss? Okay. If nothing else, we'll see everybody on the 17th.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You too,
Okay.
thank you.
We need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, adjourn.
Okay.
So move
You're
second.
adjourned. See you on the
Thank you.
second. See you on the 17th.